The first time I realized my brother had been in my bed, I wasn't even home. I was standing under the fluorescent lights of a Kroger at 10:47 p.m., staring at my phone like it had grown teeth. Because the notification wasn't from my wife. It was from my garage camera. Motion detected, interior door. The interior door was the one that led from the garage into the mudroom. The one only family used. The one I'd installed a camera on after my neighbor's truck got broken into last winter, mostly because I'm the kind of guy who'd rather spend $79.99 and a Saturday afternoon than sleep with that buzzing, what if, in my head. I clicked the clip expecting to see a raccoon or maybe Lauren coming home with her hands full of Target bags. Instead, I saw my brother Matt walk in like he owned the place. And then, this is the part that made my throat close up, I saw my wife step into frame behind him, barefoot, hair up in that messy knot she only wore at home, wearing my old gray Buckeyes hoodie. She shut the door. She reached out and grabbed his hand. The video cut off after 15 seconds. 15 seconds was all it took to smash 14 years of marriage into confetti. If you'd asked me 6 months ago whether my wife would ever cheat on me, I would have laughed. Not because I thought I was some kind of irresistible prize, but because Lauren and I were solid. We were the couple people pointed to at cookouts like, ah, that's what it's supposed to look like. We met in high school in Grove City. I was the tall, quiet kid who fixed everyone's cars for beer money. She was the girl who could talk a teacher out of giving you detention and then turn around and make you feel like you were the only person in the room. We grew up together, did the community college thing, got our first crappy apartment near campus, survived the ramen years, then the holy crap the water heater exploded years, then the we can afford a house but the mortgage makes me sweat years. I work HVAC, commercial installs and service calls. I'm up early, on ladders, in attics, in warehouses that smell like cardboard and regret. Lauren's in dental administration. She's organized, polished, and she has this way of making people calm down without sounding like she's telling them to calm down. We didn't have kids. That part always stung more than I admitted out loud. We tried. We did the tracking apps. The doctor visits. The quiet crying in the bathroom so the other person wouldn't hear. Eventually we stopped trying on purpose and started trying not to talk about it. We poured ourselves into work, into the house, into being the fun aunt and uncle for my brother's kids. Matt is younger than me by 3 years. He's always been Matt. Loud, charming, the guy who can walk into a room and make people feel like they've known him forever. He sells real estate now. He used to bounce between jobs, but real estate suited him, big smile, firm handshake, always on his phone, always just about to close something huge. He's married to Emily. Emily is the opposite of Matt in the best way. She's a nurse, steady hands, steady voice, the kind of person you want in a crisis. She has this dry humor that sneaks up on you. They have 2 kids, Sophie, who's 9 and thinks she's 17, and Noah, who's 6 and built like a bowling ball. We did everything together. Sunday dinners at my mom's. Random Tuesday, come over, I grilled too much, texts. Trips to Hocking Hills in the fall. Babysitting so Matt and Emily could have date nights. Matt helping me rehang gutters. Lauren making Emily cookies for her night shifts. Normal stuff. So when the weirdness started, I didn't label it as danger. I labeled it as life. It began small. Lauren's phone became a glued-on extension of her hand. She started taking calls in the laundry room. She got protective about her screen. She'd laugh at something and when I'd ask, "What's funny?" she'd say, "Oh, just Emily sending me memes," but her eyes wouldn't meet mine. She started dressing nicer for work on days she used to wear flats and a ponytail. She joined a gym and suddenly her water bottle came with her everywhere like it was a vital organ. And Matt. Matt started popping by more. At first it made sense. He said he was in the area for showings. He'd swing in, ask if I wanted to grab a beer later, crack jokes with Lauren in the kitchen. I never worried because he was my brother. Because the idea of him crossing that line was so absurd I couldn't even picture it. But I did notice something that made my stomach do a slow, uneasy roll. When Matt came over, Lauren got brighter. Like someone had turned the saturation up on her. And when I walked into a room, sometimes the brightness would dim. I told myself I was being paranoid. I told myself I was tired. I told myself the grief we carried about not having kids had made me sensitive. I told myself a lot of things. The day it finally cracked open wasn't dramatic at first. It was a Tuesday. I remember because Tuesdays are my longest days, 2 commercial maintenance stops, a supply house run, then a late call because some restaurant's cooler decides it's done being a cooler. I'd been running on 3 hours of sleep and gas station coffee. My head hurt in that deep, behind-the-eyes way that makes light feel sharp. Around 4 p.m., my boss told me a client canceled the last job. For the first time in weeks, I had an unexpected pocket of time. I thought, I'll surprise Lauren. We'll grab dinner. Maybe we'll be normal again for an evening. I stopped at Kroger to grab steak and one of those stupid little desserts she likes, tiny cakes in plastic clamshells that cost too much and taste like happiness. And that's when the camera notification came through. I stood there between the produce and the bakery, thumb hovering over the screen, and I had this weird instinct that if I clicked it, my life would change. Like I could choose ignorance by just not looking. But my thumb moved anyway. Matt. My house. Lauren. Barefoot. Hoodie. Hand-holding. My ears went hot. The noise of the store went distant, like I'd been shoved underwater. I watched the clip 3 times, then a 4th time like maybe the pixels would rearrange into something else. Like maybe I'd hallucinated the hand. I didn't. I couldn't. I walked out of the store without the steaks. Without the tiny cake. Without even checking out. I just left the cart right there like an abandoned thought. I sat in my truck in the parking lot and tried to breathe like I'd seen people do in movies. Slow in, slow out. It didn't help. My chest felt like it was full of broken glass. I opened the camera app again and rewound. Another clip triggered 2 minutes later. This one caught them in the mudroom again, closer to the camera. Matt pulled Lauren toward him. Their faces moved together in a way that was unmistakable even with the cheap camera resolution. The clip ended before it showed anything else, but I didn't need more. I sat there shaking so hard I had to grip the steering wheel with both hands. The part that still makes me feel sick isn't just that my wife was cheating. It's who. Your brother is supposed to be one of the last people on earth you have to guard your back around. He's supposed to be the guy who throws a punch for you, not the guy who crawls into your marriage like a thief. I don't know how long I sat there. 10 minutes. 30. Time didn't work right. I remember thinking, okay, Jake. Don't be stupid. Don't do something that lands you in jail and makes you the villain in your own story. So I didn't drive straight home. I drove to a park. I sat. I watched kids swing and parents push strollers like the world wasn't ending. I tried to think like a grown man and not like an animal with his throat ripped open. Eventually, I drove home, but I parked down the street like some creep, just to see if Matt's car was there. It wasn't. When I finally walked into my house, it smelled like lemon cleaner. Lauren had been deep cleaning lately, which I'd thought was a new hobby. Now it felt like evidence disposal. She was in the kitchen, chopping vegetables, humming softly. She turned and smiled like she hadn't just detonated my life. "Hey, you're home early," she said, voice warm. "Everything okay?" I stared at her. Her face. The freckles across her nose. The wedding ring on her finger. I couldn't speak right away. My mouth didn't work. "What's wrong?" she asked, smile flickering. I set my keys on the counter carefully, like if I moved too fast I'd shatter. Matt was here, I said. Her chopping stopped. Just for a fraction of a second. Then she forced motion back into her hand. Yeah, she said too casually. He stopped by. He said he was in the area. I watched her eyes. Not her mouth. Her eyes. Did he, I asked, come in through the garage? She swallowed. Yeah, probably. That's what everyone does. Were you wearing my hoodie? Her face tightened, a tiny muscle jumping in her cheek. It was cold. Were you holding his hand? Silence hit the room like a door slamming. Lauren's grip on the knife went white. Jake. Were you holding his hand? I repeated, louder, sharper. She put the knife down slowly like she was trying to de-escalate a hostage situation. Why are you asking me this, she said, and her voice had this offended edge, like I was the one doing something wrong. I got a notification, I said. From the camera. Her eyes widened. Not surprise, exactly. More like panic caught its breath. Oh my God, she said, hand flying to her mouth. You're spying on me. I almost laughed. It came out as something uglier. Answer the question. She shook her head quickly. Jake, it's not. I felt something in me snap at that line because it was so cliché it was insulting. It's not what? I demanded. Not what it looks like. Because I watched it. I watched you, Lauren. She closed her eyes like she was in pain. Okay, yes, he was here. We talked. Did you kiss him? She opened her eyes, and for a second I saw something I'd never seen in her before, calculation. I don't remember, she said. That's when my stomach dropped through the floor. You don't forget kissing your husband's brother. I pulled my phone out, opened the app, and played the clip. I held it out like a weapon. Lauren's face went pale as she watched herself on my screen, like she couldn't believe her own stupidity. Oh God, she whispered. So? I said. My voice sounded far away to me, like it belonged to someone else. How long? She started crying fast, like flipping a switch. Big tears, shaking breath. Jake, I'm sorry, she said. I didn't mean for it to happen. It just. How long, I repeated, each word heavy. She sank onto a kitchen stool, shoulders folding inward. A few months, she whispered. A few months, I echoed. My brain couldn't process it. While Emily's taking care of your niece and nephew. While Mom's inviting him over for Sunday dinner. While he's calling me his brother. Lauren covered her face. It started as talking. Just talking. I stared at the cabinets, at the magnets, at the stupid grocery list on the fridge like it could tell me what to do next. Did you sleep with him? I asked. Her silence answered before her mouth did. She nodded once, a tiny movement. I tasted metal. My hands shook. Where, I asked, did you do it? Lauren's eyes darted away. I looked around my kitchen, my living room, my hallway, and suddenly every surface felt contaminated. In our bed? I asked, voice rising. In our bed? She flinched like I'd slapped her. Once, she whispered. I swear, just once here. The other times were at his office, or. Stop, I said, holding up a hand. I don't need the geography. She lunged forward, grabbing my wrist. Jake, please listen. I was lonely. That sentence hit me in the face. Lonely. I'd been killing myself working overtime. I'd been trying to save for fertility treatments she said she wasn't sure she wanted anymore. I'd been coming home exhausted and still asking her about her day, still rubbing her shoulders, still trying. And she'd been lonely. You were lonely, I said slowly. So you slept with my brother. She sobbed harder. I hate myself. I do. I hate it. I hate that I did it. But it made me feel wanted again. I pulled my wrist free like her touch burned. You know what's insane? I said, and my voice cracked. I wanted you. I've been here the whole time. Lauren shook her head wildly. You were here, but you weren't here. You were always tired, always stressed, always working, I snapped. To build our life. She whispered, you barely touched me anymore. I stared at her. That one hurt because it had a seed of truth. Not because I didn't love her, but because sadness and pressure and infertility and routine can turn intimacy into a chore you're afraid to fail at. Sometimes I didn't touch her because I didn't want to initiate and see that distant look in her eyes. Sometimes I didn't touch her because touching her reminded me of everything we didn't have. But none of that justified my brother. Did Matt tell you he loved you? I asked, and the question tasted like poison. Lauren hesitated. Did he? I barked. She nodded again, smaller than before. He said he's always had feelings. I laughed then. A short, bitter sound. Of course he did. She reached for me again. Jake, please. We can fix this. I'll cut him off. I'll go to counseling. I'll do anything. Anything except unsleep with my brother. I leaned back against the counter because my knees felt like they were going to give out. What about Emily? I asked quietly. Does she know? Lauren shook her head. No. God, no. And there it was. The final twist of the knife, they were going to keep living like nothing happened. Keep coming to family dinners. Keep smiling at Emily while she served them food. I thought of Emily's hands, always chapped from hospital sanitizer. I thought of her laughing with Lauren in the kitchen at Thanksgiving. I thought of her kids running around my living room, safe in their little world. My voice came out low. You were going to let her live a lie. Lauren's face crumpled. I didn't want to hurt her. I stared at my wife, this woman I'd built a life with, and realized I didn't recognize her at all. Lauren tried every angle. Crying. Apologizing. Blaming loneliness. Blaming stress. Blaming the fact we didn't have kids. She even tried to blame Matt, softly at first. He pursued me, she said. He kept texting. He kept showing up. I told him no. Did you tell him no with your clothes on or off? I said before I could stop myself. She flinched. That's not fair. None of this is fair, I said, voice shaking. You don't get to lecture me about fairness. She moved closer, hands clasped like she was praying. Jake, we can survive this. I looked her straight in the eyes. Do you love him? She hesitated again, and I swear I saw her weigh honesty against strategy. I don't know, she whispered. That was my answer. I nodded slowly. Okay. Okay, she repeated, hopeful. No, I said. Okay as in. I'm done. Her face went blank. No. Jake, no. Don't do this. I didn't do this, I snapped. You did. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. I'm going to my truck, I said. I'm going to take a drive. When I come back, I want you gone for the night. Where am I supposed to go? She cried. I laughed again, humorless. Call Matt. That one landed. Her eyes widened in horror like I'd suggested something obscene. I can't, she whispered. He has Emily. Funny, I said. That didn't stop you before. Lauren started sobbing again, sliding down onto the floor like her legs couldn't hold her. I stood there, staring at the woman I'd promised forever to, and felt something hollow out inside me. Like grief was scooping me clean. I didn't yell anymore after that. I didn't throw anything. I didn't do the dramatic movie stuff. I just walked out. I drove with no destination. Up and down I-270, past exits I could have taken 100 times, headlights blurring. At some point I realized I was gripping the steering wheel so hard my fingers ached. I parked in an empty lot behind a closed strip mall and put my forehead on the wheel. The first wave was shock. A numb buzzing where my brain kept trying to reject reality like it was a bad email attachment. Then anger hit. Hot, bright anger that made my vision pulse. I pictured Matt walking through my garage door like a king. I pictured his smug smile at Christmas. I pictured his arm around Emily while he looked me in the eye. And under that anger was sadness so heavy I thought it might suffocate me. Grief for the marriage I thought I had. Grief for the version of Lauren that existed in my head, loyal, safe, mine. Grief for the brother I thought would never betray me. At some point I started crying. Quietly. The kind of crying that feels humiliating because you're a grown man alone in a truck in a dark parking lot. I kept thinking the same sentence over and over. It didn't have to be like this. And then another. They chose this anyway. I don't remember when I decided what came next. I just remember one clear thought cutting through everything, sharp and steady. Emily deserves to know. Because if someone had been sleeping with Lauren behind my back, I would have wanted to know, even if it destroyed me. Especially if it destroyed me. I checked my phone. There were a dozen texts from Lauren. Missed calls. Voicemails I didn't listen to. I opened my contacts, scrolled to Emily's name, and my thumb hovered. My stomach churned. My heart hammered. Then I hit call. It rang twice. "Hey, Jake," Emily said, cheerful and tired. "What's up? Everything okay?" And I realized that whatever pain I was in, I was about to hand her some of it. I swallowed hard. "Emily," I said, voice breaking, "I need you to sit down." There was a pause. Her tone changed immediately, nurse mode. "Okay," she said quietly. "I'm sitting. What's going on?" I closed my eyes. My hands shook. And I told her. Not perfectly. Not in a clean line. I told her in fragments, the camera. The hand-holding. The confession. Emily didn't speak for a long time. I could hear her breathing. Then she whispered, "No. I'm so sorry," I said, and I meant it more than I'd meant anything in my life. Her voice came out thin. "Are you sure?" I hated that question because I understood it. Because denial is a lifeline. "Yes," I said. "I have video." Lauren admitted it. Emily made a sound, half gasp, half sob, and then went silent again. "Emily?" I said. "I'm here," she whispered. "I'm just trying not to throw up." "I know," I said. Another pause, then her voice hardened in a way that chilled me. "Do you still have the video?" "Yes." "I want it," she said. "And I want every detail. Dates. Times. Anything you have." I swallowed. "Okay." Emily inhaled, shaky but controlled. "And Jake?" she said. "Yeah." Her voice turned flat, dangerous. "If they want to play games with our lives, then fine." I stared out at the empty parking lot, my chest tight. "What do you mean?" I asked. Emily's next words were quiet, but I felt them like thunder. "I mean, we're not going to be the only ones who lose everything." And in that moment, sitting alone in my truck, Emily and I met the next morning at a diner off Stringtown Road, neutral territory, the kind of place where the coffee is always too hot and the booths are always cracked. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her hair was pulled into a tight bun, no makeup, scrubs under a hoodie. She sat across from me with her hands wrapped around a mug like she was anchoring herself. "I didn't tell him I know," she said. I nodded. "I didn't tell Matt I know either." Emily's laugh was short and bitter. "They think they're so smart." I slid my phone across the table and played the clips. Emily watched without blinking, jaw clenched so hard I thought her teeth might crack. When it ended, she didn't cry. Not yet. She just stared at my screen like she could burn it with her eyes. "That's my house too," she said softly. "My kids were probably upstairs." The words made my stomach turn. "I'm sorry," I said again, useless. Emily lifted her gaze. "Don't be sorry. Be focused." I'd never seen her like that, so calm, so furious, like her emotions had been compressed into something sharp. "What do you want to do?" I asked. Emily's eyes flicked toward the window, like she was watching the world continue without her consent. "I want out," she said. "But I want out smart. Matt thinks he can lie to my face, sleep with your wife, and still come home to me like I'm furniture." I swallowed. "Same." Emily leaned in. "Then we do this right. Legal first. Evidence first. Money first. Then we expose them." There was a part of me that wanted to storm into Matt's office and break his perfect teeth. But I thought about jail. I thought about Lauren spinning the story. I thought about Matt's talent for charming his way out of consequences. "Okay," I said. "How?" Emily pulled out a small notebook. Not a dramatic reveal, just a plain spiral notebook, the kind you'd buy for back to school. It was already filled with dates, times, notes. "I started writing things down months ago," she admitted quietly. "Not this. But, weird stuff. Late nights. Work trips that didn't add up. Him guarding his phone." I thought I was being paranoid. My chest tightened. "You were seeing it too." Emily's smile was razor thin. "Yeah. And now we're going to use it. We made a plan that day, and it wasn't illegal or violent or Hollywood crazy. It was the kind of plan you make when you realize adults don't get justice handed to them, you have to build it from paperwork and patience. Lawyers. Emily had a friend from the hospital who'd gone through a nasty divorce and recommended an attorney who specialized in high-conflict cases. I called a family lawyer recommended by a guy on my crew who'd been through it. Evidence. I exported every camera clip. I backed them up to 2 places, cloud and a hard drive. Emily started quietly checking Matt's devices, his emails, his calendar. She didn't hack anything, she used the fact that she knew his patterns, his passwords, the way you know someone's life when you've shared a home with them. Finances. My lawyer told me something that made my blood run cold. In Ohio, the financial stuff can get messy fast, and if I moved money around in anger, it could bite me later. So I did the boring, smart thing. I opened a separate account, redirected my paycheck, and documented everything. Emily did the same. We weren't hiding assets, we were protecting ourselves from being drained. Timing. This was Emily's idea, and it was brutal in its simplicity. Let them think they're safe until we're ready. Revenge isn't a tantrum, she told me in the diner, tapping her notebook. It's a schedule. And for the first time since the camera clips, I felt something besides pain. I felt control. The next 2 weeks were a special kind of hell. At home, Lauren acted like we were in some temporary storm that would pass. She apologized constantly, cooked meals I didn't eat, tried to touch my arm like she could soothe the fracture. "I'll do anything," she kept saying. I stopped responding. Not because I didn't feel, but because I felt too much, and if I let it loose, it would ruin the plan. Matt kept texting me like nothing happened. "Yo, you golfing this weekend? Mom wants us over Sunday. Tell Lauren we should all do a game night." Every message made my hands itch. Emily played her role too. She didn't blow up. She didn't confront. She watched. She collected. She acted tired, normal, slightly distracted, exactly how she already looked. At night, she and I would talk on the phone like co-conspirators. Sometimes we'd swap new findings. Sometimes we'd just sit in silence, breathing, reminding each other we weren't crazy. One night, Emily whispered, "I keep looking at him and thinking, who are you?" "I know," I said. "He kissed the kids goodnight," she said, voice shaking. Then he went outside and texted her. I closed my eyes, throat tight. I know. We weren't bonding romantically. Not then. It wasn't like that. It was more like we were two people standing in the same wreckage, holding each other upright. The lawyers moved faster than I expected. Mine told me, if there's infidelity, it can influence some aspects, but don't count on it being a magic wand. What matters is documentation and staying calm. Emily's lawyer told her similar. So we built a file, screenshots, dates, timelines, camera clips, receipts. Then Emily found something that shifted everything. She called me at 2 a.m., whispering like the house could hear her. "I found hotel charges," she said. "What?" I sat up, heart pounding. "On Matt's credit card statement," she said. "Same hotel. Same city. Recurring. Every other Thursday." My stomach lurched. That's when Lauren's girls' night started. Emily exhaled, shaky. "Yeah. We compared calendars. Matched dates. It lined up so clean it was almost insulting. That's when we decided on the final piece, exposure. Not random exposure. Not screaming at a barbecue. Controlled exposure. Emily wanted my mom to know because she refused to let Matt spin the narrative first. I wanted the same. So we set the stage where lying would be hardest, a family dinner at Mom's house, with everyone present. Mom, Dad, Matt, Emily, Lauren, me. No kids. Emily arranged that her sister would take them for a sleepover. I asked my parents not to invite extended family. Just us, I said. Important. Mom was worried. Is someone sick? Something like that, I said, voice tight. The night of the dinner, I thought I might pass out from the pressure in my chest. Lauren was dressed nicely, like she was trying to prove she still belonged in the good wife category. She kept glancing at me with this pleading look. Please don't, her eyes said. Matt arrived 10 minutes late, loud as always. Sorry, he boomed, walking in with a grin. He slapped my shoulder. Traffic was brutal. His hand on me made my skin crawl. Emily walked in behind him, calm, eyes cold. Mom served lasagna. Dad poured wine. Small talk crawled across the table like a dying thing. Matt talked about a listing. Lauren laughed too loudly. I barely tasted food. When plates were cleared, Mom started bringing out dessert. Emily set her fork down neatly and said, "Before we do cake, we need to talk." Everyone froze. Mom's smile faltered. "Emily, honey." Emily looked at my mom with this tenderness that broke my heart. "I love you," she said. "And I'm sorry. But you need to hear this from me, not from gossip." Matt frowned. "What's going on?" Emily turned to him. "You tell them. Or I will." Matt's face flashed, confusion, then alarm. "Tell them what?" Mom asked, voice trembling. Matt tried to laugh. Come on, what is this?" Emily's eyes didn't move. "Tell them about you and Lauren." Lauren's face drained of color. Matt's jaw clenched. "What? No." Emily reached into her purse and slid her phone onto the table. She tapped play. The garage clip played in the quiet dining room, Matt walking into my house. Lauren stepping in behind him. Their hands linking. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father went still, like stone. Matt shot up from his chair. This is out of context. Lauren started crying immediately. Please. Emily's voice was calm. There's more. She swiped, played another clip, Matt and Lauren in the mudroom, faces close, bodies pressed together. Mom let out a broken sound I'll never forget. Lauren. Lauren reached across the table toward my mom, sobbing. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. Dad's voice came low and dangerous. Matt. Sit down. Matt didn't. He paced like a trapped animal. This is insane, he snapped. Jake put cameras in his house like a psycho. I finally spoke, voice shaking with rage. Don't you dare make yourself the victim. Matt pointed at me. You don't understand. Emily stood. No, you don't understand. You're done. I have your hotel charges. I have messages. I have everything. And I'm filing. Lauren sobbed harder. Jake, please, I'll fix it. I looked at her, really looked, and felt the last thread inside me snap clean. You already fixed it, I said quietly. For you. You fixed your loneliness. You fixed your boredom. You fixed your ego. You fixed it at the cost of my life. She whispered, I didn't mean. I don't care what you meant, I said, louder now. I care what you did. Mom's voice broke. Matt, why? Matt's face twisted. Because you all put Jake on a pedestal. He's the good son, the reliable one, and I'm always. Dad slammed his hand on the table so hard the plates rattled. Stop. Silence. Emily turned to my parents again, tears finally spilling. I'm sorry, she whispered. But I'm not staying married to a man who humiliates me. Then she looked at Lauren. And you looked me in the eye and asked about my kids' school projects while you were sleeping with my husband. Lauren tried to speak. No words came out. I stood too. I'm filing, I said. And I'm done pretending. Matt's mouth opened. Jake, bro. I shook my head. Don't call me that. That's when Mom started crying in earnest. Dad put an arm around her, but his eyes never left Matt, like he was staring at a stranger who'd walked into his house wearing his son's face. We left that dinner separately. Emily drove away without Matt. I drove away without Lauren. And for the first time in weeks, the air in my lungs felt cleaner. The fallout hit fast. Matt called me dozens of times. I didn't answer. He left voicemails that swung between rage and pleading. Lauren showed up at my worksite once, crying in the parking lot, begging me to just talk. I told my foreman to send her away. My lawyer filed paperwork. Emily's lawyer filed hers. Then Matt did what cowards do when consequences arrive, he tried to control the story. He told people Emily was unstable. He told a mutual friend that I'd been emotionally absent and Lauren needed comfort. He hinted that Emily was cold and always working. It didn't work. Because Emily and I had already told the truth, and we had proof. Family stopped taking Matt's calls. My mom blocked Lauren on social media after Lauren posted a vague quote about people who don't fight for love. Dad showed up at my place one night and sat on my porch without saying much. He just looked at me and finally said, I'm sorry I raised him like that. I said, Dad, you didn't. He chose it. Emily moved out with the kids. She stayed with her sister for a while. Matt moved into an apartment and tried to keep his image polished, but real estate is a reputation business. People talk. Especially in suburbs where everyone knows someone. Lauren moved in with Matt for exactly 3 weeks. I know because she texted me at 1 a.m. one night. He's not who you think he is. I stared at that message for a long time and didn't respond. Because I already knew she meant, Matt wasn't the fantasy. Matt was just Matt. Loud. Charming. Selfish. And once Lauren wasn't forbidden, once she wasn't the shiny secret, she became a problem. A reminder. A complication. Matt's life started unraveling in chunks. Emily's lawyer got primary custody. Matt fought it, but his work trips and documented hotel patterns didn't help. Neither did the fact that he'd been using family money for it. His brokerage didn't love the drama. Clients quietly drifted away. Listings slowed. Lauren tried to keep working at her dental office, but once word got out, small world, small town energy, she became that woman. She got let go for restructuring. Maybe it was fair. Maybe it wasn't. But consequences don't always come in neat moral packaging. She called me one afternoon, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. I ruined everything, she choked out. Matt doesn't even want me anymore. Your mom hates me. I don't have anywhere to go. I said, voice flat, you should have thought about that before you climbed into bed with my brother. Jake, she pleaded, please. I hung up. It wasn't cruelty. It was survival. A year later, here's what my life looks like. I sold the house. Not because I had to, but because I couldn't breathe in it anymore. Too many ghosts in the hallway, too many memories on the walls. I moved into a smaller place near a park. I got a dog, an old rescue with one cloudy eye and a stubborn streak that makes me laugh. I started going to therapy, which I used to think was for other people, until I realized I was waking up every night with my heart racing like it was trying to escape. Emily and I are still close. We're not some movie ending where betrayal turns into instant romance. We took our time. We were careful. Our relationship, whatever you want to call it, started as two people who understood each other's pain without needing to explain. Eventually, one night after the kids were asleep, Emily sat on my couch, exhausted, and said, sometimes I feel guilty for laughing again. I said, me too. She looked at me for a long time, then leaned her head on my shoulder like she'd done it 1,000 times. And I realized something simple and huge. Life after betrayal isn't about winning. It's about rebuilding a life where your heart isn't constantly bracing for impact. As for Lauren, last I heard, she's living in a small apartment on the other side of town. She bounces between jobs. She tried dating Matt again, but he cheated on her, because of course he did. She tried reaching out to my mom around the holidays. Mom didn't respond. Matt? He's still my brother biologically, but he's dead to me in every way that matters. He sees the kids on weekends under a court schedule. He smiles too wide in family photos he's no longer invited to be in. He posts motivational quotes like a man trying to wallpaper overwrought. Sometimes I still get angry. Sometimes I still remember the camera clip and feel my stomach twist. But the anger doesn't own me anymore. Here's what I learned, and what I'd tell anyone who's staring at their own 15 seconds that ruined everything. Trust your gut when something feels off, but don't let your emotions make you reckless. Get proof. Get legal advice. Protect your future before you blow up the present. Don't let someone else's betrayal turn you into someone you don't recognize. And most of all, don't confuse forgiveness with access. I didn't win because Lauren and Matt suffered. I won because I stopped letting their choices decide what my life would be.